Part 1. Introduction. The Trap of Linear Thinking. This morning, the world woke up in quiet panic. AI now writes music, directs films, and paints like a master. And some have begun to whisper, do we even need humans anymore? It sounds absurd, yet look closely and you'll see. We became machines long before the robots did. It isn't AI that's imitating us. It's us, living like algorithms. Step 1, Step 2, Step 3, a straight path toward what we call happiness, success, or even enlightenment. This is linear thinking, and it is quietly killing the very essence of life. Linear thinking is the mind's habit of moving in a straight line, from cause to effect, from question to answer. If I suffer, I must find a reason. If I fail, I must fix the plan. If I meditate, I must reach enlightenment. Every question becomes trapped in the logic of, what must I do to get what I want? And so every thought, every feeling is dragged into the endless chain of cause and consequence. It feels reasonable, but that very reasonableness is the trap. Because life is not an equation. Not every smile has a reason. Not every tear has a meaning. Not every question needs an answer. We now live in an age of formulas. 3 steps to success, 5 ways to be happy, 7 habits of the awakened mind. Even spirituality has become a marketable product. People buy meditation courses like mutual funds. Everything is a self-optimization project. That's when spiritual practice turns into mental fitness, and enlightenment becomes a performance metric. We no longer live to live, we live to achieve. We no longer feel, we only measure. Look around. Every part of society moves in a straight line. Markets crash, we demand an explanation. AI rises, we seek control. We feel lonely, we sign up for 7-day healing retreats. No one stops to ask, what if the problem isn't out there? The Buddha once said, the mind precedes all things. It is the master of every act. But modern humans don't believe that. We trust data more than breath, metrics more than intuition, and the right way of thinking more than the quiet wisdom within. That's why, as technology accelerates, the human mind grows heavier, slower, and more fragile. Linear thinking makes us believe that life is a racetrack. Work hard, reach the finish line. Try harder, you'll be rewarded. Follow the rules, and you'll be happy. But life isn't a line, it's a river, a spiral, a dance. And a river doesn't know its destination, it only knows how to flow. Because we've forgotten this, we've turned even love, creativity, and spirituality into goal-driven performances. We love to be loved back. We meditate to reach a state. We help to feel good about ourselves. Thus, every act becomes contaminated by purpose. In that moment, the mind loses its aliveness. It becomes like a scanner, constantly searching, am I improving yet? That's why modern people feel exhausted, not because they do too much, but because they think too much about results. Even in rest, the mind whispers, is this break productive? Am I wasting time? Have I meditated enough? It's the exhaustion of one who cannot stop walking, forever chasing a horizon that disappears the closer you get. And while we search for happiness in the future, happiness has already passed us by. The Buddha said, there is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path. But we don't believe that, because we've been programmed to think that everything must have a destination. Linear thinking is the golden cage of modern intelligence. It gives the illusion of control, while quietly controlling us. And only when we stop and truly look into the machinery inside our own heads do we realize we have never really lived. We've only been calculating how to live. Part 2. The Mechanism of Conditioning. How Education and Society Program the Mind. Why does a child born with wide, curious eyes after just a few years, become afraid of mistakes, afraid of low grades, afraid of being different. Because this world does not teach people how to live, it teaches them how to function. We call it education. But in truth, it is a system of mental formatting. A structure designed not to awaken the human being, but to make them fit in. From childhood, we are taught that if we do A, we will get B. If we do C, we will be punished with D. This is the first language of conditioning. A child paints a picture. Instead of being asked, "How did you feel while painting?" they are praised, "You used the right color." In that moment, the mind shifts from experience to evaluation. The Buddha said, "The fool learns to know, the wise learn to see." Yet our system only teaches to know and forgets to see. Today, children learn coding at 6, write resumes at 10, and worry about success at 12. A generation of early intellect, late soul. Schools preach creativity but still grade within a box. Companies praise open-mindedness but reward the fastest obedience. And society, with social media, algorithms, and instant news, keeps whispering the same message. If you do it right, you'll be loved. This is no longer education. It is neural training on a collective scale. Conditioning doesn't only exist in classrooms, it lives in every digital structure. YouTube shows what we've already watched. TikTok repeats what we already liked. Google delivers what we already believe. Each click is another line of code written into the brain. We are no longer living, we are being lived. The mind is bent to believe there is only one correct path: study, work, buy, share, achieve. And what we proudly call freedom of thought is merely freedom to choose within a pre-built frame. Just last week in Japan, a startup announced an AI school where students would be graded by facial emotion and heart rate. It sounds futuristic, but it is, in fact, automated conditioning. A machine will now decide how focused, happy, or reward-worthy a child is. Linear thinking has evolved into programmatic consciousness. Humans no longer study to understand. They study to be optimized. And strangely, we still glorify this modern education, even though it is the root of our unease. The best students fear failure the most. The most educated often suffer the deepest. Because the smarter the mind within the box, the harder it becomes to see beyond the box. The Buddha taught, "Nothing is to be believed simply because it is written." When people learn to pass exams, speak to impress, and live to achieve, they no longer learn, speak, or live. They only repeat. Conditioning is the golden shackle of the mind. It makes us believe we are choosing while we are merely reacting. We don't have to destroy the system, only see that it is operating within us. Because once seen clearly, the program loses its power. Then learning becomes an opening, not memorizing. Education becomes awareness, not obedience. And humanity, for the first time in millennia, can finally think without being thought for. Part 3. The consequence. When the mind becomes a result-seeking machine. One morning, you open your phone and see an app called 5-Minute Meditation, promising to reduce stress, boost focus, and achieve positive energy in 7 days. That is when spirituality becomes performance, and the mind becomes a KPI-driven machine. We now live in a world where even happiness is measured by steps, by sleep hours, by heart rate, by focus score. We no longer live, we are being measured. When the mind has been conditioned for too long in linear thought, it begins to function like a metal detector, scanning every corner of life for something valuable. Nothing remains simple, everything must produce a result. We don't speak to share, we speak to be recognized. We don't work for joy, we work for achievement. We don't love to live, we love to be loved back. This is the tragedy of the results era. Every moment becomes a means to reach another, supposedly better moment. And thus, life is never truly lived. It is perpetually postponed. Look at the workplace. An employee no longer asks, "What did I learn today?" but "Will this help me get promoted?" An artist no longer wonders, "Am I true to my feelings?" but "Will this go viral?" A meditator no longer asks, "Am I aware?" but "How long until I reach samadhi?" The mind has been rewired to hunt for reward. It lives in the if-then loop. If I do it right, I'll get what I want. But that want is never enough. Do you see it? We have turned every human experience into a marketing campaign. From a meal to meditation to love, everything must be recorded, shared, rated. We are living in permanent performance mode. Every emotion needs a caption. Every silence must be aesthetic. Even stillness must be beautiful enough for a story. This is no longer living. This is acting. And in this endless performance, we have lost the capacity to simply live without being seen. The Buddha once said, "One who clings to results can never touch peace." But the subtle irony is, even when we know this, we still want to achieve the state of non-attachment. Ego sneaks into every spiritual layer. It whispers, "I no longer want to achieve anything," yet secretly longs to be praised for letting go. This is the final trap of the modern mind, using meditation, mindfulness, and the Dharma as tools to achieve non-achievement. A mind obsessed with outcomes is like a person chasing their own shadow. The faster they run, the farther it moves. The tighter they grasp, the faster it slips. They say they seek happiness, but in truth, they only seek conditions for happiness. Joy becomes an algorithm, updated each time society rewrites its standards. And in this endless pursuit, the mind wears out, not from suffering, but from never feeling enough. When the mind becomes a result-seeking machine, it loses the ability to see what is. There are no more flowers, only goals to pick them. No more wind, only weather forecasts. And then one day, a person realizes they have achieved everything, except the capacity to feel it. The answer is not to stop seeking results, but to see clearly the seeker itself. For when the seeker is seen, it dissolves, and only life itself remains, effortless and whole. Part 4. Transformation, Creativity, the Dharma, and the Collapse of All Patterns. It is not that intelligence is dying. It is that intelligence has been confined. We live in a strange era. AI can compose music, write poetry, and paint. Yet humans have never been less creative. Everyone wants to be original, but they follow the 5 steps to creativity, the 7 habits of successful minds, the 3 most effective meditation techniques. When methods become more important than seeing, the Dharma turns into a formula, and creativity becomes a production line. The essence of creativity is not in creating something new, but in being unconditioned. A flower blooms, not because spring planned it, but because there was no reason left not to bloom. The Dharma works in the same way. As long as you practice to attain enlightenment, you remain trapped in the logic of efficiency. And wherever efficiency exists, the ego is calculating. The Buddha once said, "There is no path to enlightenment. Enlightenment is the disappearance of all paths." Creativity, like awakening, does not arise from effort. It arises from the collapse of the one who is trying. A scientist at MIT once confessed that his greatest ideas never came in meetings. They came while washing dishes, when the mind had stopped thinking, when awareness was no longer trying to calculate, because creativity emerges only in emptiness. You can see this everywhere, in art, technology, spirituality, even business. The most revolutionary insights appear the moment people stop trying to make breakthroughs. But modern society doesn't believe in emptiness. It believes in systems. So even meditation has become KPI-driven. How many minutes per day? How many mindfulness sessions? How soon can I reach level 2 insight? Humanity has turned the Dharma into a personalized project. People practice as if learning a foreign language, aiming to become fluent in spirituality. And in that process, the living beauty of the Dharma, its spontaneity, mystery, unmeasurable nature, is forced into a corporate template. When the Dharma becomes managed, it ceases to be the Dharma. It becomes a spiritual enterprise with goals, metrics, and a deadline for enlightenment. The Buddha never taught how to be creative. He only showed that there is no one creating, because when there is no creator, everything naturally creates itself. Like a painting appearing on water the moment you stop holding the brush. Non-linear intelligence, awareness beyond A and B, is the moment you realize there is no B to reach. It adds nothing new. It removes what was blocking sight. It does not build a path. It dissolves the very idea of one. People today speak endlessly about transformation, but most of it is linear transformation. Step-by-step progress, levels, methods, techniques. True transformation, however, happens in a collapse. When all patterns crumble, when there's no one left to be right, no standard left to achieve, and the mind suddenly becomes empty. From that emptiness arises another kind of creativity, not of ideas or will, but of pure awareness. It is creativity without creator, where life itself moves through you, with no you steering the flow. The collapse of patterns is not destruction, it is rebirth. A cup can only hold water when it is empty. The mind is no different. When you stop defining, stop controlling, stop striving, the Dharma reveals itself, and creativity is simply the breath of truth moving through you. You do not become enlightened. Enlightenment becomes you. Part 5. From linear to nonlinear, the dissolution of the seeker. For ages, humanity has searched for truth. Through religion, science, technology, every journey begins with the same impulse. I want to know. But no one stops to ask, who is the one that wants to know? And if the seeker dissolves, is there still anything left to seek? That question is the end of all paths. Linear thinking always builds a sequence. I am here, enlightenment is there, I must go. Almost every philosophy and practice is unconsciously shaped by this same linear mind. But the Dharma does not exist within the process. It exists in the collapse of the process itself. As long as you think you are moving forward, you remain the center of the journey. And that center is the most subtle form of ego. The Buddha never said, reach the truth. He simply said, see what clouds the truth. Because when the veil falls away, truth doesn't have to be found. It reveals itself. Just as the sun never disappears, only clouds do. And the seeker is the cloud. In today's world, people meditate to increase energy, chant to reduce stress, read sutras to raise vibration. All of it is strategy of the self. The spiritual ego is more dangerous than the ordinary one because it hides behind sacred language. It says, I have let go. But who is letting go? It is still I. Thus the seeker continues to exist, now disguised as the enlightened one. Once this is seen clearly, all effort ceases. Not from exhaustion, but because there is no one left to make the effort. The mind becomes empty. There is no meditator, only breath breathing itself. No listener, only sound happening. This is not enlightenment. It is the absence of the one who seeks enlightenment. In a world obsessed with data, KPIs, and AI, a single human who sits quietly without seeking anything is performing the most radical act possible. Not chasing trends, not hunting happiness, not needing a goal, because when no one measures, every moment returns to its original beauty. A flower does not bloom to be admired, a star does not shine to be praised, and the mind does not become still to reach peace. It is still because stillness is its natural state. When the linear collapses, the non-linear begins. When the seeker vanishes, reality is no longer hidden. There is no path, no traveler, no destination, only life aware of itself. There is no enlightened person. There is only enlightenment breathing through forms. And if right now you sit quietly, without needing to know, without needing to believe, simply present, then the seeker has dissolved, and truth is already you.